Hey guys, how you doing? I just woke up from what I consider to be a horrific prophetic dream of events to come. Let's get straight into the dream. Okay, I was with my twin brother walking around some big skyscrapers where these buildings were very tall, man, and it appeared as if I was in a valley. Like there were hills opposite sides of these skyscrapers, but I was just looking around at these buildings and just walking through, and very quickly, out of nowhere, this was sudden, man, a massive tsunami was coming, and it was coming directly at us, and the only thing I could do was get inside one of these tall buildings. It was like this cream-coloured building, but I got in it, and I ran all the way up to the top of it, and I sat in there, and basically was just praying and hoping that I wasn't going to die, mate, you know? This wave was huge. I wasn't looking out the windows at it. I could feel it hitting the building, and oh, mate, it was horrific. It was terrifying, man. Anyway, the wave had obviously passed on by, and it had stopped, you know, it had come in and done the damage that it had done. And I saw this from two different points of view. It was almost as if, like, the dream had paused for a second, and I was outside of the building on the ground looking up at these skyscrapers. And what blew my head off about this was I was looking at this huge building, and I was looking at the other big building behind me, and you could see the water level mark near the very top of this building. And I'm telling you, man, these buildings were huge. They were huge, okay? And I was looking up at the top of this building, and it was like 3/4 of the way up of a skyscraper, and I could see the watermark on it. And around me, I was looking around me, and I was like, you know, I can't believe that a wave of water was that high that it filled this whole area. Like everything here, like earlier, was underwater, you know, and I could see like smashed up cars, and I could still see remains of the water, like puddles everywhere, and like the place was desolate, mate, compared to what it was before that. Before that, this area was like a thriving area or community, like a thriving town or village or whatever you want to call it, man, city possibly. And after that, mate, it was just total destruction, just cars everywhere. The place was wiped out, mate, but these two buildings still stood. And I was looking around and thinking, like, you know, I'm breathing air right now, but if I'd been standing here like earlier, I'd be fully underwater right now, you know? And I couldn't get my head over it. It really, I just couldn't get my head over it, mate. It was like confusing and just, you know, there's no words for it, man. And then it was as if the scene flashed, and I was back in the top of this building again, and the water had just come through, and the water had done like colossal amount of damage to this building that I was in, this skyscraper. And I was with my identical twin brother Jamie, and we were both in the top of this building, and we were like on one of the highest floors, you know, and the floorboards where I was started to move, and there was bits of the floor falling down, and there were like a few floorboards, and as I looked down, one of the middle floorboards dropped, and you know, one would expect to see the next floor of the building underneath you, but there was no floor. It dropped all the way down, and from the way that I was seeing this, it looked like, I mean, this building was very high up. It was like a mile drop to the ground, you know. It was only the structures of this building and the top couple of floors that remained. And you could see like the steel girders or beams that formed like the structure of this massive building. And I was looking down through where one of the floorboards had fallen, and all I could see was the metal beams of this building going down. And below that was water. but very, very far down. And I sort of panicked and sort of grabbed the walls beside me, you know, and my twin brother was there next to me, and there was only 2 boards left, floorboards left, and they were starting to like move where I was, and I thought I could fall down this gap any moment, and I was contemplating to myself, what would that be like? You know, that would be, and I felt fear. You know, it's important for you to understand that I really perceived this dream as if I was really there. To me, this was very, very real and very vivid in the way that I'm explaining this to you. I mean, like after waking up from this, it was horrific. I felt like I'd just experienced it. But anyway, carrying on, and I was holding onto the walls, and I was looking down, and I was thinking, if I fall down this gap, you know, I will certainly fall to my death, okay? But it would be terrifying falling all the way down there to then, like, die at the bottom. Like, I don't even want to think about it. But my twin brother was there, and he said, Danny, we've got to get out of here. And through, like, a crack in the wall that wasn't there before, you could see down onto another floor, which was not directly below us. The floor below us was gone, you know, apart from the 2 floorboards. Like, the next floor down was gone, but through a crack in the wall to the right of us, you could see a little bit of the next floor below us still remaining. And my brother was like, we've got to get down. And he started to climb through the crack in the wall to get through. And I said to him, no, the building's not stable. Don't, Jamie, don't go down there. I said, we're better off waiting here. And he said, you can't just wait here. He said, we've got to go, like, you know. And so he started to climb through the crack in the wall. And it was so dangerous, like nothing was stable, man. He started to like kind of hold on to the structures of this building, like the structural beams, and he manoeuvred his way onto the next floor. And he was gone for a while, and I just sat there like in perpetual fear, man, just staring at the hole through the floor. And it's almost as if like the scene flashed and I was in the next part of the dream. I remember being in like what would appear to be the sea. Water everywhere. But it really is horrific, man. It makes you want to cry. It makes me want to cry thinking about it and talking about it. But as I looked around me, that what appeared to be the sea, and there was like a hill next to us, you could see the tops of buildings sticking out, okay? So we weren't like on a cliff top looking out at the ocean. The ocean was now inland in a city or a town. And I saw like the tops of these buildings, like bits of roof sticking out. And, you know, what you would class or consider to be very high buildings without water around it had the sea, the ocean around it. Makes me want to cry, mate, you know, sharing this with you. That was a powerful, vivid experience, man. But there it was, and there was darkness over us. It was like a scene out of a movie or a horror film. You know, you get these films like that depict like horrific events, that like end of a world events. It was like a scene out of a film, man. But there were still survivors, but not many, you know. And the ones who survived were in incredible shock, panic, fear. They didn't expect it, guys. This is the thing that I've really got to get across to you. They didn't expect it. Nobody expected this to happen. It was suddenly upon us, all right? Just suddenly came, man. There was no warning or nothing, man. It was horrific. You know, 1 minute you're getting on with your life, and the next minute, absolute destruction. Anyway, the scene flashed again. And I found myself in an abandoned building, and there must have been around 30 of us in there, and there were people still arriving all the time. And there were ladies, there were men, there were boys, there were teenagers, there was a couple of elderly people. And what I realised this to be, guys, was a Christian community. This was a community of Christians, you know, Christian communities, world safe locations. I was in this abandoned building in this city where there was darkness or town. The water was still around. It's like the ocean was there with us, you know. It's like Venice. Have you ever seen Venice in Italy, where they travel around their city in boats and stuff because there's lots of water there? But it was like that, but like this tsunami had come in and now the ocean was within the city, like, you know. Weird thing to explain, man. But we were in this abandoned building not far off from the water, and it was darkness, and these people who were arriving were a part of an end-of-day Christian community. We weren't up in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. We were in an abandoned building on the outer edges of this town or city where the sea had come in, like, you know. And there were different coloured, like, people there, not being racist or nothing, different coloured people, elderly people, young people, you know, people of different health levels. You know, we were the ones who had survived. We were the survivors. What shocked me about this was there was around 30 of us, and they were just, the people there with me were more interested in, like, waiting this out, and they didn't have a clue what they were doing. They were just there, and they started to play, like, ping pong and stuff. It was like it was an abandoned youth hostel or something, you know. They were starting to play ping pong, and some of them were distressed, staring at the floor, and you know, the overall atmosphere was like shock, incredible shock, upset, depression, anger, anxiety, upset. But some people were laughing and giggling, playing ping pong and playing different games that were available there. You know, like board games, stuff like that. And I shouted at them all, and I said, "What are you all doing? What are you all doing?" And they all looked at me like, "What? Are you crazy, mate?" Like, this is how they looked at me. I said, "We should be out there scavenging for food right now. Scavenging for water. You realise that we have no food or water. I mean, this has just happened, you know, and if we don't start looking for food or water soon and start scavenging, we're going to die. Okay, so we need to start looking now." And then immediately it's like everybody there like said, "Okay, yeah, we'll do it." So they suddenly all got onto it. And I said, I was like, "Well, this is cool, but we've only got one little rubber dinghy. You know, we've got a rubber dinghy, like a little inflatable boat, you know. You know, you could only fit like a maximum of like 3 people in that. You know, and suddenly there was 30 people trying to get into it, and kind of like all wandering around not knowing what they were doing with themselves, like, you know." And I was like, "Come on, guys, you've got to think realistically here." I said, "I need 2 other strong men with me." And I said, "You, Mike," I knew their names in my dream, but I don't know their names in real life. I don't even know who they are in real life, but in my dream I knew them. I was like, "Mike, Mark," I said, "you 2 come with me, you're strong men." And I said, "My brother Jamie, come with me also," like, you know. And then one of the guys started to get funny. Mark, I think his name was, and he was like, "No, why should I do this? I shouldn't have to do this. I do what I want to do," like, you know. And I was like, "Mate, we've got to work together." I said, "You're strong. You're a strong man. We need to go back into the city and scavenge, like, you know, or the town, you know." And he got all funny and everything. So I said, "Look, Jamie, my brother, hop on the boat with me, man." And, you know, these other 30-odd people, they didn't have a clue what they were doing. You know, we just seen a major disaster. Major disaster, like, that appeared like an end of the world scenario to me, man. And it would to anyone, like, you know. And they just didn't have a clue what they were doing, mate. Totally unprepared. Weren't prepared for it. Yeah, it was a Christian community. Yeah, they knew where the safe location was, or this agreed meeting spot at this time. They all arrived, but had no clue what they were doing then. They were just sitting around doing nothing, man. You know, or playing games, like... You know what I mean? Anyway, in the end, my brother Jamie and this other guy were in the boat, Mike I think it was, and we went off and we were scavenging for food and water and whatever we could find to bring back to the others. We went on this long, like, sort of mission to try and scavenge food and water. And it was awful, you know. It was like the tops of buildings going past us, you know, as we were like paddling along, and there was lots of dangers. It was really dangerous, and it was dark and dingy, and it was horrifying, and Anyway, scene flashed and I was back with the 30 odd people again in this building. And I was dealing with the fact that I'd lost, like, family members. And it was horrific pain. You know, yeah, I'd survived this horrific disaster. And I was with these other people. And I'd known I'd lost my wife, and in my dream my mum was still alive at this point. I'd lost my mum. I knew that they had died. They'd not survived this. I was dealing with, like, horrific pain in my heart. Makes me want to cry thinking about it. But I knew I had to be strong. I had to be strong for the others there, for those other 30. I couldn't show my emotions. But we all knew it. They knew it. They were also going through the same. They must have been. And it was like, I'm never going to see my family again. I'm never going to see my wife again, you know. And my brother Jamie, he also went off, and for a long time he did not return. And I genuinely believed that my brother had died as well. It was so bad. But I knew that I would see them in heaven again. But I had to be strong for these 20 to 30 other people. And then I was with this guy Mike again in my dream. And the Mark guy that I was telling you about, he said, I'm not having this anymore, to the 30 of us that were there. He said, I'm going home. I was like, you what? You're going home? And he said, yeah, I'm going home. According to this guy, his home still existed. And there was 29 of us there that no longer had homes, because our homes were destroyed in the tsunami. And we had lost family members and friends, and here we were in just total devastation, and just like they weren't prepared for it. Even though they were a community that were preparing for this sort of thing. And I made a joke, and I said to this Mike guy, I said in front of everyone, I said, oh look everyone, Mark's going home. He's going home. He's actually got a home to go to. What? Does he see this as a joke? Does he see this as something funny? You know? And I said, look Mike, I'm not bullying Mark, but I said, Mark, and I'm not bullying you mate, but what are you doing here? Us lot are here. There's 29 of us here that do not have a home, that have nothing, you know, that we've just got each other, and you're going home. You have a home to go to. You know what I mean? I'm sharing this with you because this was a part of the dream, man. And the dream ended. Guys, oh man, I actually feel like crying my eyes out, like horrifically, man. That dream was like one of the most vivid dreams I've ever had. That was vivid. That was for real, man. I feel like I experienced that for real last night. Like I was really there. If you're watching this and you're a part of the Christian communities, you need to put a real plan in place, mate. You need to work together, all of you, all of us. We need to work together. You need to put a proper plan in place. It's not just a matter of agreeing a safe location, and when destruction or disaster happens, meet there. Then what? You know, sitting around not knowing what to do. You need to know what you need to do. You need to have a plan. You need to know who's going to go scavenging for food and water. Who's going to be building shelter or finding shelter. We all need to be working together, having our own roles. You can't just turn up to a safe location in the end of days, guys, when a disaster happens or is about to happen, and just sit there scratching your heads not knowing what to do. It's survival. We've got to be looking after each other. Looking for food, looking for water, cooking food and boiling water, looking after each other. You know, a whole community in place, you know, defending one another. Don't just turn up sitting there not knowing what to do. You're going to die pretty quickly if you don't have a plan in place. You've got to have a plan in place, all right? And the other thing is, don't be fooled, man. This stuff's coming, all right? It's really coming, and it's going to take so many people off guard. It's going to take you off guard, man, if you're not ready for it, okay? These disasters are just going to happen. Bang! They'll be upon you. Like, 1 minute you're going about your day as normal, like it's a normal every day. You get up, you go to work or do whatever you do, and suddenly a huge tsunami is going to come ripping through where you live, man. Like that! Like that! Okay, no warning, man. It's just going to come. It's just going to happen, and your whole life is going to be changed in a heartbeat, in a split second, man. Your whole life is going to be changed. And everything that you've ever known it as is just going to be gone. And if you survive it, man, it's like your whole world is stripped out from underneath you. You think your family and friends are dead. You're in this frantic search for your family and your friends. And you're in depression. And you can't believe that your whole area, your whole home and your whole city has just been wiped out, man. You've got to prepare, man. You have got to prepare. Prepare in your mind with the Lord Jesus first, alright? And prepare with others. If you're in the communities below, take it seriously and put a proper plan in place, alright? And if you're not, then join it and put a proper plan in place. You have got to be strongly rooted in the Lord Jesus. I cannot stress this enough to you. You've got to be strongly rooted in the Lord, because He is the only one who's going to get you through this. And He is the only one who's going to give you the strength and the strength of mind and the strength of character to get through these times when they come. You must be firmly rooted in our Lord. I cannot stress this enough to you. It was terrifying. Oh, man. This is a warning to you. Prepare. Prepare yourself. Prepare yourself. Prepare. I'll see you again soon.